Think your metabolism is about calories in, calories out? Wrong! There's a secret conversation happening between your gut bacteria and your mitochondria that decides if you burn fat or store it. And most doctors don't even know it exists. Hi everyone, I'm Marc Bates. I'm a metabolic health coach, and this is a feature presentation on gut mitochondria communication, the key to unlocking your metabolism. So let's get into it. I used to think metabolism was about calories in, calories out, like most people years ago, right? Then I discovered something that changed everything. Your gut bacteria are having a constant conversation with your mitochondria, and that conversation determines whether you burn fat effortlessly or store it relentlessly. Most practitioners miss this connection entirely. They treat gut health and metabolic health as separate problems, but your microbiome is actually the control tower for your cellular energy production. When this communication breaks down, your metabolism breaks down. Okay? So, let's talk about this hidden conversation between your gut and your cells. Every meal you eat sends chemical signals from your gut bacteria to your mitochondria. These signals tell your cellular powerhouses whether to produce clean energy efficiently or generate inflammation and insulin resistance. The key messengers include short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, inflammatory compounds like LPS, and bile acid derivatives. Your mitochondria will respond to these signals by either optimizing fat oxidation or locking into glucose dependence. When you eat processed foods high in refined carbs and seed oils, you feed opportunistic bacteria that produce inflammatory signals. These bacteria overgrow while beneficial species decline. The result? Your gut starts whispering, danger, inflammation, store fat, to every cell in your body. Research shows that plasma LPS concentrations increase by 2.5 to 2.9 fold in obese and diabetic individuals compared to lean subjects. This bacteria endotoxin directly triggers insulin resistance at the cellular level. Your mitochondria receive these inflammatory signals and respond predictably. They reduce ATP production efficiency, increase reactive oxygen species, which is oxidative stress, and impair the electron transport chain. Fat stays locked in adipose tissue, glucose floods your cells, and energy production becomes dirty and inefficient. And you think, oh, I can beat this with willpower. Willpower never stood a chance. I've watched clients struggle for decades with eat less, move more advice. Right? It doesn't work. They blame themselves for lacking discipline. But your biology was working against you the entire time. When your gut mitochondria communication is broken, hunger becomes constant and cravings feel uncontrollable. Your cells can't access stored fat for fuel, so they desperately signal for more glucose. This creates the metabolic trap that conventional nutrition advice just can't solve. You're fighting against cellular signaling pathways that are far more powerful than conscious willpower. The breakthrough comes when clients realize their struggle wasn't a character flaw. It's not your fault. It was mitochondrial dysfunction caused by disrupted gut signaling. Once we restore the gut mitochondria conversation, biology starts working with them instead of against them. Okay? So, there's a cellular reprogramming protocol that we suggest. Healing this communication requires a complete reset of both your microbiome and your mitochondrial function. I've developed a systematic approach that addresses both simultaneously. First, we remove the inflammatory triggers. No more refined carbs, seed oils, or processed foods that feed pathogenic bacteria and damage intestinal barrier function. That could be a tough one. Then we provide the raw materials for mitochondrial repair. High quality animal proteins supply essential amino acids, heme, iron, and B vitamins. Healthy fats from grass-fed sources provide the building blocks for cellular membranes and hormone production. The magic happens when we introduce strategic fasting windows. During these periods, cellular cleanup processes called autophagy and mitophagy remove damaged mitochondria and restore optimal function. Within days, clients notice their first sign of restored gut mitochondria communication. Hunger disappears between meals. Energy becomes steady and sustained. Mental clarity improves dramatically. It's blue skies all over again. The gut starts sending safe and steady fuel available signals, and mitochondria respond by efficiently burning stored fat for energy. All right. From glucose prisoner to fat-fueled freedom. One client, this is just a representative picture. Sorry. One client transformation still amazes me. A 54-year-old man with 15 years of type 2 diabetes. This sounds very similar to me, by the way. Maximum metformin doses and creeping insulin dependence. I wasn't quite that bad. His fasting glucose constantly ran over 200 milligrams a deciliter. So I was a little lower than that, despite following standard dietary advice religiously. He ate small portions, avoided fat, and exercised daily. Once again, sounds very much like me. Yet he got progressively sicker. That was definitely me. We implemented the gut mitochondria reset protocol. Within 1 week, his blood sugar dropped below 140 milligrams a deciliter for the first time in 15 years. By month 3, he was no longer diabetic by A1C standards and completely off insulin. Okay? The transformation happened because we restored cellular communication. His gut bacteria began producing beneficial metabolites instead of inflammatory toxins. His mitochondria responded by regaining insulin sensitivity and fat burning capacity. This wasn't willpower or medication. This was biology working as designed when we removed the interference. Yeah, this is almost my exact story if you look at some of my videos about my story. And yes, I will tell you that all this stuff does happen. It happens this quick, and it works very well. Let me know if you're having these types of problems in the comments. Okay? Really. All right. The counterintuitive truth about fat. The most challenging part of this protocol is convincing people to eat more fat while trying to burn fat. Decades of low-fat dogma have created deep-seated fear around dietary fat, right? Come on. How many of you still fear dietary fat? Let me know. But here's what actually happens biochemically. Dietary fat doesn't trigger insulin the way carbohydrates do. Without insulin spikes, which come only from carbohydrates, essentially, your cells can access stored fat for fuel. Healthy animal fats also provide the signaling molecules your gut bacteria need to produce beneficial metabolites like butyrate. These compounds directly fuel your mitochondria and promote the formation of new efficient cellular powerhouses. That's the mitochondria, right? When cells finally embrace this approach, they experience something revolutionary. Their body becomes a fat-burning machine that runs on its own stored energy between meals. Hunger transforms from a desperate cravings to a gentle signal. Energy becomes constant and sustainable. And the constant food obsessions simply disappear. Yeah, and it all happens. It happened to me. Ketones, the ultimate cellular fuel. And this is key. As the gut mitochondrial communication improves, something remarkable happens. Your liver begins producing ketones from stored fat. It's the fat you're trying to get rid of. Ketones are the cellular fuel your brain and muscles were designed to run on. They provide more ATP per molecule than glucose while generating fewer inflammatory byproducts. Virtually none, quite honestly, if you look at the biochemistry. Research demonstrates that ketone bodies like B-hydrobutyrate directly improves mitochondrial biogenesis. That's the ability for mitochondria to continue growing, to be adding, which means more energy for your cells, right? Okay, and function by upregulating key signaling pathways like PGC1 alpha and SIRT3. You don't need to know those, but trust me, they work. Okay, your mitochondria literally become more numerous and efficient when fueled by ketones instead of glucose. This creates a positive feedback loop of improved energy production and reduced inflammation. Okay, if you haven't heard that ketones are better than glucose and that glucose is not your preferred fuel source, let me know in the comments. Clients often describe this transition as someone turned the lights back on. Mental clarity sharpens and physical energy stabilizes and metabolic flexibility returns. Okay? That's what we all want. We want that healthy metabolic flexibility. The healthcare revolution hiding in plain sight. Okay. And this has been out there. What I've witnessed in practice points towards a complete transformation of how we approach chronic disease. When we address root cause mitochondrial dysfunction instead of managing symptoms, which is what your doctor typically does when they're just prescribing different pills for you, right? Remarkable healing becomes possible. Type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, metabolic syndrome, and even early stage cognitive decline respond dramatically to restoring gut mitochondria communication. Okay? Now, once again, I'm not a doctor, but trust me, this stuff happens. Work with your doctor if you want confirmation on this. These aren't just improvements, they are reversals of supposedly progressive conditions. The future of medicine will recognize that most chronic diseases share a common root: disrupted cellular energy production caused by inflammatory gut signaling, which ultimately finds its way into insulin resistance. Okay? It all comes back down to insulin resistance. The future of medicine will recognize that most chronic diseases share a common root. Okay? Instead of prescribing medications to suppress symptoms, will restore the fundamental communication pathways that control metabolism. Food will become targeted therapy for mitochondrial repair. Healthcare costs will plummet as we prevent and reverse the chronic diseases that currently consume 75% or more of medical spending in this country and more worldwide. People will spend more of their lifespan in vibrant health instead of managing progressive illness, right? That's what you want, right? You want to live a long life, but you want to live that long life vibrantly. Who wants to be sitting in a wheelchair for 10 years? My father was in a wheelchair for the last 10 plus years of his life. It was miserable for him. I'm sure it was, right? I'm not about to accept that, and you shouldn't either, all right? Your metabolic liberation starts now. The most profound realization from this work is that metabolic disease is optional. Your clients want to produce clean energy efficiently. Your gut bacteria want to send beneficial signals to your mitochondria. We've simply been interfering with these natural processes through processed foods, frequent eating, and inflammatory lifestyle factors. The solution isn't another diet or exercise program. It's removing the interference and allowing your gut mitochondria communication to restore itself. When you eat foods that support beneficial bacteria and provide mitochondrial building blocks, your biology works with you instead of against you. Hunger becomes optional, energy becomes abundant, health becomes inevitable. Your gut bacteria have been trying to tell your mitochondria how to heal your metabolism all along. Now you know how to listen. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the appropriate section. This is a community. I'm here to try to answer your questions. So let me know what you want me to talk about next, what things you're looking for, what series you want me to work on. Okay? I get a lot of advice from you, and that's where I want to give you the types of videos you want. And of course, if you haven't done so, please like, share, and subscribe these videos. It helps the channel a great deal. Thank you very much. And it helps a lot of other people. Have a great day.